All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. I am Jeremy Litwinowitz, and I will be leading our call today, with, possible chiming in from anyone uh, else on our team if we need it. As far as I can tell, so far we do not have any pre-submitted questions today. So if anyone that's in there right now has any questions, please go ahead and post them, and I will be happy to do my best to address, and we can have some good discussions today. So if you need anything, go ahead and ask away. All right, we got a bunch of questions now. Great. First one that I saw is from James. You have a question about projects and dependencies. So, James, I'll allow you to talk, and you can go ahead and uh, elaborate.
Okay, the first question is just about projects in general. And I understand that there's been quite a bit of an upgrade, or at least rethinking of that in version 9. Am I correct about that?
Yes, projects are
Definitely
a
a
lot
bigger
different
deal,
and
right?
much bigger
Yeah.
in version 9. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just with we found that it's difficult to just keep track of them in version 8 a little bit. I mean, there's no ready report that I can run that I know of, or even a query that I can create that will list my a project and all the folders or things that are in that. I mean, I think that happens when you go to move it to the repository itself, but um, we would want to, we're just looking for an easier way to maintain that without, having to go through repository steps, to do that. Is there a table out there that has projects and every item associated with that project in it that I can run queries on, of reports?
Yes, I
Okay,
believe
great.
here. I think it's a property. I think it's called like module name or something like that. Um, I can't remember where. One sec. Module resource. I think it's this. Yeah, module resource.
So let me just run a selection. Yeah. If you right click on that, on the table name, it'll create the select for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is it. Module
Okay.
name. It has the projects in it. So module resource is the table. Module name will actually give you the title of your projects, so you can
Okay,
easily
so
find those in there.
module name. No wonder I couldn't
Yeah.
find. I was looking for project name
Yeah,
because
yeah.
anything with project in it, I figured the field would be called that. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, in version 8, that's what you want to use. You can easily find all your projects. There's
Module
all of our
resource.
trainal things. There's obviously like the core things, but here, yeah, you can see like the financial lending project that I have in here.
Right, right.
So
Yeah.
it displays them in there.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, and then once version 9 comes out, it's way easier to look at because everything is
Okay.
completely organized by projects.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that because that's what I'm used to here. I mean, we had a product um, that we used for our ERP system that anytime you created anything, that was gonna eventually move to production, it was under a project, and all
Yeah.
your objects were under that project, and it made it so much easier to, find things or,
Mhm.
go back and figure out what you did at one time.
Yeah. Here's actually an example of version 9 that's
Hmm.
in one of our testing ones. Like, here's our asset tagging project. And then you can
Right,
click on it and look at all the items that are within that project. So it's
right,
completely scaffolded around those projects and then all the stuff that's built within them. So it's a lot
okay.
easier to keep track of for sure.
And the way that that's done in version 9, the project, you does that match the folder structure too on the left-hand side there? I mean, because right now in version 8, you could have folder structure that could have different nodes that are assigned to a project. They could be like totally buried within another, you know, folder.
Yeah, so on this, it's like the most outer level is the project. And
Right.
then within that project are just all of the items that you
Okay.
find within
And
it. So
what
like
I'm looking
this
at
has
there.
all of my flows and
Right.
everything specifically in this asset tagging project.
Right. And
So
that's
it's not
just for
holding
that
other
right now.
things. Yeah,
Gotcha.
it's not holding things related to the other
Okay. Yeah,
projects.
that's gonna
You
make it
can
so
you
much.
can add dependencies if you want to
Yeah.
connect a project to other projects in different
Right.
ways,
Right.
but
Right. Right. Right.
but at its base, right, everything is within that project. So
All
it's easy
right.
to
Okay.
deal with.
Man, that's gonna make so much. When is version 9 gonna be available? Pretty much
Uh,
widely available so that we can start downloading it.
yeah, I
I
don't
know the
know the
beta's
answer to
out.
that. Yeah,
Okay.
the beta's out. I think they're hoping to release very soon, but I don't know the exact timeline
Okay.
on that.
Not a
Uh,
problem.
yeah, it's actually supposed to be going out today or tomorrow, or sorry, not
Yeah,
today, tomorrow or the day
tomorrow.
after.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Yeah, they
Well,
said
that's
in the
cool.
morning meeting that 9.0 should be out tomorrow.
Is it 9.0 or is it a last version that?
From what with the way they said it, I mean, I was kind of in passing with it, but the meeting I heard it was said that 9.0 should be public tomorrow.
Okay. Okay.
great.
That sounds great. Um, so I'll start getting that on the schedule to do. And is that, just for my knowledge, do we just download and install that the same way we did our original version over it, or how do you upgrade to a different version like that? Seeing it's a whole different version.
There's going to be documentation.
Okay.
I would maybe wait till documentation comes out. Like
Yeah.
you can just, and I installed version 9 on my personal system. This is Robert, by the way, but I would wait for the documentation just to make sure that you're dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's.
Mhm.
I know that we've been making it both on the training team and on the documentation team. I would, but yeah, the install process is going to be the exact same process you did to install your local,
Okay.
your
Okay. Not a problem.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is following the documentation to make sure all of your stuff is imported into the
Yeah,
new project system successfully.
yeah, that's gonna be, yeah.
And so,
And
yeah,
it
I would
does take,
suggest following the documentation, or if you
right,
can speak with someone while you're doing it,
yeah,
if you need anything to make sure that that goes properly instead of, winging it, because obviously you
yeah,
don't want to lose anything.
right, right. Okay.
and William, who's in the chat, he's in the
Yeah,
room as well.
posted
He's
it.
he's on the documentation team. He just added a link to the chat, so he's the one who
Okay.
is partially responsible
Yep,
for this. So if
it
you look in the
is.
Cool.
chat, he did put a link there for you.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it's in our version 9 too on documentation site. There's an installation guide,
Okay, cool.
so you can follow that.
Yeah, gotcha.
Thanks, William.
All right. All right. Just one more quick question about dependencies.
Mhm.
I'm not real familiar with how that works in version 8, but let's say I have a flow that I know is connected to a bunch of other flows, like it's a common flow that's called. How do I easily see all the connections, all the dependencies that are, I don't even know if that's the right word, but let's say I have a common flow that's does some common lookup that I call from like 20 flows. How do I see easily all the flows that are connected to that use that?
Yeah, so you can go right click and go to browse dependencies.
Right, I've done that.
Very
Yeah.
easily from there. That shows, like this view and shows what's depending on it and what it's depending on. And obviously you can
Hmm.
easily like open these from there as well. Uh,
I'm
that's
having
like
an
the
issue. Yeah, I'm having an issue with that though. That's what I thought would happen, but I opened one that I know this flow is used in several different other flows. And I didn't get that, what you just showed me there. Let me, I'm gonna go and try it again just to make sure that I'm not doing something here. Because I've got several common flows that I know I call like this one. We just went into dependencies, browse dependencies. Oh, okay. I am getting it now. All right. I guess I was just seeing things early. That's what I thought you would do, but I wasn't
Yeah.
getting this little. Okay. Never mind.
All right, perfect. Anything else related to
I'm
your
good.
questions?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good for now.
All right. Our next question comes from Brian Kim. I am trying to combine files and create a folder without it being zipped. Is this possible? All right, Brian, would you care to maybe just elaborate a little bit and maybe explain a little bit about what you've tried? See if we can replicate or take a look at this.
Yes, I've kind of been messing around with this the zipped file tool, but we were wanting to not have it be zipped, like not have it be compressed, and we're gonna have like we're combining PDF files basically, and we want to have a bunch of these PDF files associated with their own subfolder within a bigger folder that the user can download. So, for example, if we have a client name, let's say decisions, and then there's a bunch of other clients, let's say like decisions and Apple and Amazon, let's say, and then they'll be saved into a big folder. And within those subfolders, we'll have these PDFs in those folders. So we want to create basically a folder structure with things in the child folder. But yeah, I've used a zip folder. I've been messing around with the unzip file, and like the add to subfolder. But I don't really know how to subfolder one. I don't know if it's talking about folders and decisions or like an actual folder that we can download.
Hmm. All right, so you're saying you're messing with some of the steps that related to this? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how to do it basically. Like
Yeah,
if possible to not to download folders without it being zipped and to add subfolders within a bigger folder to download. I honestly
got it.
think the zip is fine if only the parent folder is zipped and all the other subfolders aren't zipped. If that makes sense.
Got it. Oh, okay. So you're saying if you use the zip, is it zipping even the child folders within the parent?
Well, so basically what I was doing was I was creating a zip file and then I was adding other zip files into that zip file. So I would
Got
download
it.
the parent and then yeah, the child folders would be zipped still. So I don't know how to add it without it being zipped.
Got it. Interesting. Have you messed with any of the like unzip options to see if that, you know, I guess does anything of what you're looking for?
I've messed with it a little bit, but not enough to understand if that's what we need. Because it just says like when I unzip it, it's just like a list of file data.
Right.
Um, but I haven't tried it. Yeah, I can try it right now. Let me see. I don't think I'll be able to add it to a download button because it's a list. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's like I guess the problem. Um, Here's my decisions decide to run slow right in the middle of lunch and learn. Um, so you're looking for a list of file data. Have you used a multiple file download? Because it takes an input, a list of file data.
I mean, I haven't because we still want the user to be able to just download one folder. So we don't want the user to be able to download like multiple different files, like individual.
Okay,
It's just like they click the download
I
button
see.
and all of the files are contained in that.
Okay, got it. I think I understand more what you mean. You want them to download one file, but you want everything filed just one.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Let's get go. We'll create the file. Okay, so I guess my next question is so when you're creating your zip file, right? It's a folder that's got a bunch of folders contained in it. Are these coming from like all things that are getting built up in your flows at some point?
Yes. Yep.
And are they being like, I guess like zipped and unzipped throughout your process?
No, I haven't unzipped it, and that's like the issue. Like I don't know because like once I unzip it, they're not in a folder anymore. They're just like
Right,
in a
it's just a bunch of
things.
files.
Yeah, so that doesn't work either. I've tried the like add to like create subfolder um tool, and I've tried like the attach to folder. But I don't know if the like those tools are creating like a folder for download or if it's like a decisions folder. So I was a bit
Yeah, the create folder and create subfolder and all like those steps are definitely just like decisions folders. Like
okay, yeah,
you would use those to create a folder in your folder tree, um,
that
within a
makes sense.
project or something.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm not sure what to do to be able to add folders into an unzipped file for the child folders.
Right. Okay, interesting. Maybe, especially since my decision seems to be struggling a little bit right now. I may have to take a look at this or ask someone and see if they know
Okay.
how at least they can throw these files into a folder that can then be zipped since they're kind of all separate initially. Yeah, let me get back to you on that. Can you just post your email so I have it so I don't forget it?
Yes.
And then I can reach back out once I find this. I'm sure there's just something I'm not quite familiar with that I can ask about and
Yeah.
get something for you.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right. Just a second. All right. The next question comes from Carter. And Carter is asking, can you walk through how to have inline editing in an advanced data grid? I have one set up with the setting changed, but inline edits are not working. I will give you a chance to elaborate if you have anything additional to add, Carter.
Yeah, not really. Just I have a page that has a flow run part. The flow run part has a form. The form has an advanced data grid, and I've changed it from view only or whatever the option was in that form to what is it? The grid mode, changed that from info only to inline edit. But the inline editing isn't working on the page. I didn't know if there was another setting I needed to change, or I'm sure there's something I'm doing wrong, just don't know what it is.
Okay.
I was able to get the normal data grid to inline edit, but I didn't know if there was something special with the advanced data grid.
Got it. Okay, one sec.
Hey, Carter, can you explain can you get, I heard the tail end of it, apologies. Can you explain the advanced data grid, problem again? It's not letting you edit on the actual form?
Correct.
Okay. Do you you enabled editing on the report itself?
That is probably the piece that I'm missing.
Yeah, so it's inline editing on a data grid advanced. You have to actually enable it in two places. So if you go to the properties panel on
Hey,
the form itself,
Robert,
you can,
I'll
yep,
interrupt you for a sec. Do you want to just
yeah.
share your screen? Because my decisions is running really slowly anyway,
Yeah, no problem.
and I
Give me
can't
20 seconds to
pull it up.
clear off my embarrassing monitor window here thing. I've got a zillion windows open. Hold up.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's just not loading for me today for some reason.
Yeah, I got you.
I
Give me a
probably
second.
just have to restart my service.
I've got 200 windows open. All right, here we go. So where am I? There I am. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. All right, perfect. So, yeah, and it tricks people up all the time with this one, because you do want it to be, you have to edit it in basically, you have to allow editing in two places, and I'll kind of show you and explain why. Uh, so let's do a form. And again, I have a lot of windows open too. I'm doing a bunch of stuff. Pick or create a form. Perfect. We'll make this really super quick. Pick a create form. We're gonna create a new one. Create a normal form. Inline. Edit. All right. Let's add this thing. Data grid advanced. All right. So let's go. Up, 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 up. And I'll just add this to the account structure just to kind of show you how it works. But you obviously you're probably gonna want to use your own, but just an account. All right. So there's a couple things you got to check here. So data grid, thing number one you want to make sure is that you have inline available right here for preview and display mode. So you want to make sure inline is on for preview and actions. All right. And then once you have that, there is another step inside of this report, right? So we got to add some fields. I'm just using the account data structure just for simplicity. We'll do email address. We'll do created on date. Sure. Something like that. Created on date. Okay. So there's another place you actually have to enable editing. So on my actual report here, you want to make sure that you can edit the report on the right. And then the final thing that you need to do, and you want to make sure, and this makes sense logically, is that you want to make sure that you're specifying which fields you can edit, because you might not want everyone to be able to edit every single field on this massive data grid. So within each field, you can click email address, created on date, and actually go down here to can edit. So I can like turn on, can't turn on, I'm turning off can edit on created on date, and I'm turning it on for email address, and then save this. You'll notice that nothing's populating here. I mean, again, I would assume that if you've got the data grid to work, I maybe don't have to show this to you, but for other people that may not, or if you're watching this on YouTube later, just keep in mind that you're going to need to fetch that data to input it in. The data grid's not going to fetch entities. Apology. So fetch entities, results, sure. And we're doing the account structure. We don't need an extension type. We don't need any of that stuff. That should be all fine. We will put this for select from flow from entity results. Got to put a button on there. Always forget the button. Close this thing out. Another thing to keep in mind with this is it is really great for a lot of things, but if you wanted to save this data back to your database, you would need like a save entities or some type of user defined type save step at the end to save it back. This is just a temporary adjustment of data. Like, if you wanted to use it, to populate an email, or you wanted something that was temporary. If you actually wanted to write it back to the database, you could use a save entities or some version of that on the tail end. But for now, I'll just kind of show it to you. But in the world I want to live in, this should work. Okay, so I must have missed one of the edits here. Boom. Let's go check it one more time. So we have on our form. What am I missing? Nope. Making sure there's no edit in here. I always forget one of these. Actually, output data changes. So I must have missed one of my editing buttons. So advanced data grid. Inline for preview display.
And that's the same setting because I don't have the preview and display that's in the common properties for our version decisions. That's the same thing as the grid mode.
Let me think about that. So you're saying you don't have the
Click back on the data grid mode at the top right there.
Oh yeah, that's perfectly. Yeah, you're right. It is inline edit right there. Thank you.
And I
Yeah,
don't
so
have the preview and actions drop down. It's common properties, input data, outcome scenarios, output, and then source.
and this might just be because I have something set up or I've enabled actions, like show actions maybe enables that.
Do you know what version you're on, Carter?
Let me double check.
So yeah, apologies. Yeah, for grid mode, you want inline edit. 100% this will work this time. I always forget one thing. So it's inline edit there. I'll show you back on the report. You want to make sure the report is editable and the fields are editable. So, I always got too many tabs here. I'm trying to go too fast. Email address, can edit.
And version 8.12.
Okay, that's the same version that Robert's on right now.
So could that be a permissioning issue if I don't have permissions for the preview and actions?
It could also be that that preview and actions comes from another setting that I have set up somewhere because I've kind of done my share of damage to this container of just like turning on settings that, we do a lot of troubleshooting and like the stand-ups on I'm on the training team. So it could very well be like we have something set up for some preview behavior in the system settings that allows it that may not actually affect it. The thing that I thought was that when I was clicking on this and I said down here under the preview behavior and actions, I meant this is what I was actually looking for was the grid mode inline edit.
Okay, gotcha.
This is what you need is grid mode inline edit. I just with all the window jumping and being halfway through lunch, I just kind of am working faster. My fingers are working faster than my brain. But in the world I want to live in, this one's going to work. Yeah, so there you go. And it gives you the ability to edit it. So yeah, it's in that grid view. You do inline edit, and then in the report, you need to make sure the fields themselves are actually editable. But
It
a
was
thing
the
to
fields
keep,
themselves that I was missing. Appreciate it.
yeah, oh yeah, no problem, man. And just another thing to keep in mind, this is not writing back to the database in any way.
So that
So
was my
when you,
follow-up question.
yeah, you'd want to
Was
use some type of save step.
is there a native decisions element that knows which elements changed so we don't have to write the entire data set back to the database?
That is a good question. Jeremy might have some insight on that. I'm gonna brainstorm it too. I've used let me think. A new record.
Also, for context, this is an external database, not internal decisions.
Okay. Have you thought about doing inline editing? I know if you inline edit on a report, it should write back to the database. Have you tried that?
I have not tried that yet. I'll try that as well.
Yeah, so I've been working with this quite a bit. So like if I change this to decisions 45 at decision or training 45 at decisions.com, it's not going to actually change it back to the database. But if I open up a report, and I think I actually maybe have one on my version 9 local to show you. This is going to be a little different, but the context will still be the same. I think I've just built this out somewhat recently. I was just doing it. Maybe it's I have a lot of containers. I'm kind of embarrassing, honestly.
While you're pulling that up, what's the intended use for the advanced data grid versus an inline editable report?
So
If it's just pulling up a report anyways.
Yeah, so I asked that for someone recently. If you're doing it in a flow out of a form with an advanced data grid, again, it's not writing back to it. It's kind of like, adjusting a field without doing a change value. A use case that we have with one of our customers is we have a brick box retailer, like a building retailer, and they get sent promotional from manufacturers, promotional deals as a CSV file. And they import the CSV file and they have an advanced data grid that pulls up that information, and then they can manually make edits and choose to write it back without having to go through and like click and confirm through everything.
Gotcha.
But they still save it in there. But or another temporary, use case might be say you wanted to through some advanced data grid customize an email and just send it out one time and not like change your actual template. You load up on the right side of message box and you can add a small custom message, send the email, and then you still have your blank template next time you go to send an email. The email might say welcome whoever. It's just a more a shorter temporary version of it. Let me see if
makes sense. Okay.
Okay, I do not. Let me make sure I don't have one here. It's called inline edit. But yeah, in a report, it will actually write back. So that, a report might be a good option for you too, like on a dashboard. If you go through and you follow the same kind of process and procedure.
And when does it write back? Does it write back as they click out or as they navigate away from the page?
Yeah, I think that is a great question because I was wondering that myself. I think it's kind of like I don't have a concrete answer for you, but I'll tell you what I've learned and then we can kind of meet in the middle on what it actually is. I have found that when I've done this, like let's say I go in and change an account email for like, 2 minutes, basically, I'm able to log in as both, but after those 2 minutes, it's the first one is gone. So I would assume that it's some type of once the cache catches up or some scheduled job runs that writes back to the database. But there's no like execute now. It's swapped permanently.
Okay.
But I can definitely ask our like dev team and get like some more insight on that. Because I do need to know because I've been like I said I've been doing a lot of inline editing lately.
Gotcha. And
Uh,
changes are persisted across users once one user changes a value,
yeah,
or
I'll
is
make
there
one.
a lag on that as well?
If there is a lag, it's like less than 2 minutes. I'm not.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's doable.
Yeah. It's really quick. Let me just finish this out real fast so I can just show you. I'll do this as fast as I can do it, which always comes back to bite me. But account data source, we're gonna go with. I don't know why it doesn't search for that. Come on, buddy. There we go. All right. So on your actual report itself, you're going to want to make this editable. I just got to remember. Obviously, I'm going through a million windows here. No required fields, results. Up here it is editable under grid view. And then email address, do the same thing, can edit. So now when I save this and I make it as a quick dashboard, I'll actually change one of these for you. Save this. Create a normal folder. So notice how on here, if I change borrower 1 at email and I change it to borrower 45, now when I go back to settings, security, accounts, borrower 45.
Awesome. That is fantastic. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
I'll add because I just did a very quick test while you guys were looking at this. If you use the advanced data grid, it does still output like the data. So I just did like a very quick test and I did it like an edit and I changed an email on one of the accounts and submitted it and it did output a list of all the accounts and the one that I changed was changed in those outputs. So similar to what Robert did, if I did borrower 45, it'll output borrower 45 at email.com as like one of those options. So then you could use that to save. So it does output, and then you could just put a save step after the form if you needed to do it that way. But obviously, the report one's a lot simpler if that works, and you can work that into your system. But if
All
you
right,
need it to be
sounds
the
great.
form, if that feels better for you, you just have to mess with a save entities or something like that after your form to then go about saving the item that got changed.
I think report should work great for this. Thanks, y'all.
Hey, quick question on that. The output, this is James again.
Yep.
You said it'll output the data set with the change values, but again, I think like he asked before, do you know which row changed, or do you just have to save the whole entity?
Yeah, that's where I think it would need more testing.
Okay.
This is the first time I've messed with the advanced data grid portion of it. Like I know I'm more familiar with what Robert was showing with the if you do just a regular report, it saves for you.
Yeah.
So I just kind of pulled up a quick test, typed it in real quick and just to see like what happened if I changed and submitted a form
Yeah.
using the advanced data grid, and it gives me an output, but obviously the output is all of the
All of the data.
accounts,
Right.
right?
Which
All of
would
the
be
accounts in my decision
Yeah.
system, and if I only changed one,
I'll be right back.
then I'd have to mess with how do I pull the one that I
exactly.
changed.
Yeah, because
Um,
I'm thinking for huge data sets, that might be an
right.
issue. You'd want to
Yeah, it would
have a
definitely take
collection of the ones
some,
that changed.
yeah,
That's
it would
it.
definitely take a lot of conceptualizing and figuring out like how do you tell what
Yeah,
what you changed to
yeah.
like save it properly.
I wonder if
So
there's a property on the entity itself that might, I don't know. I don't know.
yeah,
Well, also you
it's
could-
definitely
you could s-
possible, just worth some, definitely would need some editing, but if the report way is much easier, then obviously.
Mhm.
With a
Yeah, that's
massive data
true.
set-
That's true.
With a massive data set, this probably wouldn't work that well, but if you had, we're running something smaller, like we're doing 10 or 12 things, like the first thing that comes to my mind is running a for each with a rule. And then the rule is equals,
Yeah.
some type of equals equals.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right. One microphone's on the ground. Yeah, so Greg told me you couldn't hear me. That's the first thing that comes to my mind is running a for each and then do equals equal, like an equals equals. And if it does, add the new list or some version of that. Or you put the save only on the true path or the false path, I guess technically.
Yeah,
You do an
Yeah.
equals and then you can put on the false path and then only
Yeah.
write those new records.
yeah, yeah, that would do it. It's just, I'm thinking like you had let's say, I mean, it's not uncommon for us to have 1,000,000 row data sets.
Right. Correct.
And
Yeah.
that would in itself take a long time. You might as
Well,
well just save the whole thing back.
Yeah, I'll ask for sure. I'll ask around. Yeah, I'll ask around as well.
All right. Well, lots of good questions. Thank you everyone for those that submitted questions today. That's all the questions we have. So unless anyone else has any additional notes or questions to throw in there, I think that'll be the end for the day. Anything else? All
Thank you,
right.
Jeremy. Yeah, man.
Good stuff. We got Jared and Greg in the next couple days. So if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to join us the rest of this week. Have a great one, everybody.
Thank you.